We are vulnerable little human beings hurtling our bodies at 500 miles an hour, 35,000 feet in the air in a tiny metal tube. That is not natural, and your fears about flying are valid. However, planes are an essential part of human life, and they take us to amazing places. I travel for a living. I've taken hundreds of flights over the course of my life while traveling to every country in the world. And I am still afraid of flying. So if I can overcome my fear, so can you. Plane crashes, terrorist attacks, claustrophobia, loss of control, and even snakes have contributed to people's fear of flying. Understanding your triggers is the first step. People have different triggers for their anxiety, and it's important to be mindful of what aspect of flying makes you so uncomfortable so you can accommodate yourself in the best way possible. For some people, it's worst during takeoff and landing. For others, it's during turbulence, or maybe it's just the entire flying experience. For me, I have a fear of heights, so the idea of being 35,000 feet in the air really freaks me out. I understand so personally how unbearable it can feel. I started having panic attacks a few years ago, and I've had 2 pretty major panic attacks in the middle of a flight. It's one of the worst experiences I have ever had in my life, and after that, I started to develop a severe anxiety every single time I stepped on a plane, to the point where I was scared I wasn't even going to be able to travel like I used to. But thankfully, through some therapy techniques, meditation, and research, I've been able to accept that I don't have control over when my anxiety arises in my body, but I do have the ability to quiet my mind and observe feelings come and eventually go. It's key to remember that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a reason you are on a plane, and it helps to find something to look forward to. You could be traveling for an adventure, for something super important for work. You could be visiting family you haven't seen in a long time, or even if you're traveling for something more unfortunate like a funeral, it's still important to remember your purpose for being there. Here in the Limitless Army, we do not let our fears control our actions. So don't worry, I am here to help you conquer your fear of flying. Let's just jump into some helpful facts to get started. Air travel is the safest mode of transportation. I hate to break it to you, but you're more likely to die in a car than in a plane. You're actually more likely to be struck by lightning. Terrorism is also extremely unlikely. You have higher chances of being eaten by a shark. Also, if you're like me and have ever been paranoid of some crazy person going and trying to run and open the door like they do in movies, it's good to know that once you're above 10,000 feet, the doors are highly pressurized, so it's not possible for someone to just go and open the door. Also, there's no way for someone to access the cockpit since the door is heavily fortified. Now, you can expel all of those worrying thoughts from your mind. It's also so important to keep in mind that if flying wasn't safe, pilots and flight attendants wouldn't want to do it for a living every single day. Another big thing that a lot of people stress about is turbulence. But turbulence is simply the movement of air. Airplanes are built to handle any kind of turbulence that you could encounter, plus a whole lot more. So you don't have to worry about the plane being damaged. Think of it more as hitting a pothole in a car than a major safety issue. I am definitely not an expert, but I'm going to explain turbulence in some layman's terms. There's a few different types of turbulence that all pilots are prepared for. Clear air turbulence has a lot to do with the direction of the wind and jet streams, which are invisible pockets of air that could cause the plane to drift and shake. It usually can be avoided by going down or up a few thousand feet, and the air traffic controllers help the pilots track it. Most clouds are not an issue. You won't even notice that you're flying through them. In the worst scenario and the thunderstorms or clouds are too intense, the plane will sometimes turn back and fly around them. Again, air traffic controllers are usually planning ahead for this and avoiding it with their flight plans. Mechanical turbulence is definitely the most intimidating sounding turbulence, but it's actually created by obstacles like big buildings or mountains, and it doesn't actually have anything to do with the plane itself malfunctioning. The winds can make a plane have a rocky motion. Wake turbulence happens when the plane is landing and the wind encounters the wings at a weird angle, especially when landing right behind another plane. And that's what can make the plane feel a bit wobbly. Pilots are always on the lookout for ways to avoid turbulence when they can and manage it by making some adjustments to the flight. Pilots also attend training multiple times per year to maintain their skills and qualifications, so don't worry, you're in good hands. The best thing you can do during turbulence is fasten your seatbelt. Also, keep in mind in advance that sitting towards the wing or towards the front of the cabin has a slightly smoother ride than sitting in the back. Now, let's talk about the important stuff, what you should do before and during your flight to make yourself more at ease. If you know that you have a strong preference for a certain seat on the plane, whether that's the window or the aisle, remember to choose that ahead of time when you're booking your flight. Even if I have to pay a bit more, I always prefer having a window seat so I can choose when to close or open the window, lean on it for sleeping, etc. And if you do end up in a seat that you don't want, check with the gate agent before you get on the plane to see if it would be possible to change. I also wouldn't necessarily recommend sitting in an exit row. Don't be in a rush. Get to the airport at least 2 hours prior to your flight so you aren't stressed running through the airport and you just crash land with all of your adrenaline into your plane seat. It can also help to avoid caffeine before flights since too much caffeine can contribute to anxiety. When you're on your way to the airport, try this little experiment when you're driving in the passenger seat of a car. Close your eyes and feel all of the potholes, speed bumps, and sudden stops when you're driving. Since you're comfortable with the driver and the road you're driving on, you probably don't feel much anxiety since you're in a familiar environment. Next time you fly, apply this same learning lesson. There are systems in place to keep you safe, the plane is strong, and the pilot is capable. You simply need to trust in the process and relax. If you are truly suffering at even the thought of being on a plane, it might be worth it for you to ask your doctor if a prescription to anti-anxiety medication or a sedative might be a good solution for you. I don't personally take anything like that, but I know it has been helpful for so many people, but remember that this is more of a band-aid than a long-term solution. I have also heard that some airlines host fear of flying courses, which you can take in person and online if you would like to seek more professional help. Now, let's chat about what you should do once you step on that plane. Try to imagine making your seat a comfortable space for you to relax, almost like a prequel to your vacation. Bring snacks, water, a comforting jacket to snuggle up with. You should also try to just fall asleep to pass the time. Calming meditation music downloaded onto your phone could be a good idea to help you sleep. For me, it's also been very comforting to know that even on planes, that help is never far away. In case of any kind of medical emergency, the flight attendants are trained on what to do in those situations. If I'm feeling anxious, it actually helps me so much to be able to communicate about that with whoever I'm traveling with. Being able to share emotions is a great way to process them and eventually let them go. Also, if you're traveling alone, you can talk to the flight attendants during a time when they're not doing a safety check or eating their meals or the seatbelt sign is on, etc. And you can just tell them that you're feeling anxious or that you're a nervous flyer, and they'll usually have some advice to change your perspective. If you do feel a panic attack coming on, it's important to remember that panic attacks are not dangerous and they are temporary. Mine usually last less than 10 to 15 minutes, and I cannot recommend enough downloading offline headspace meditations. They have one specifically for managing anxiety and for fear of flying. Even without a guided meditation, focusing and connecting on your breath is the #1 most effective tool for calming your body and your anxiety. Once you've connected with your breath, start to feel more familiar and comfortable in the space around you. Adjust your window to your preference if possible. Focus on what is in front of you and always bring good, distracting entertainment. Don't rely on the plane to have a system for entertainment or headphones. So everything from music, books, video games, productive work, or writing. This is not an ad, but YouTube Premium allows you to download videos offline if you want to save some videos like this about planes or anxiety in there, meditations, etc. Noise canceling headphones can be a great tool for managing your thoughts, especially if you're triggered by the sound of the engine during takeoff or when the plane is leveling out. This last tip might not be for everyone, but it's something actually that my mom taught me how to do, which has helped me out so much, and it's visualization. So whenever I get anxious, I close my eyes and visualize a warm, bright light surrounding me. This is my protective little bubble. It's kept me safe my whole life, and it's going to keep me safe in this moment. Remember, what is bringing you on this flight in the first place? You have a purpose for being there and so much to look forward to on the other side of fear. You got this. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that this video can help you overcome your fear of flying. And if so, don't forget to subscribe. And if you're interested in more travel tips, tricks, destinations, and recommendations, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter at lexielimitless.com/newsletter. And I will even send you a free sneak preview of my upcoming book about my adventures traveling to every country in the world. All right, guys, until next time, keep pushing your limits.